Good morning, Mehul sir. Thank you for accepting my request for this interaction and
Good morning to you.
giving me an opportunity to understand you as in person, sir. Thank you very much.
Let me first of all congratulate you because this is a very good initiative and task that you taken up upon amongst yourselves during these days. Great job.
Thank you very much. Sir. Thank you very much. Sir, we just want to know how are you passing your this lockdown days? What I mean, after your busy schedule in reading not many matters, how are you passing your
Purvish bhai, Purvish bhai, essentially, as far as I am concerned, uh, just like every other family in India, I have a very good family time presently, which
Right.
otherwise I am unable because of my busy schedule. And
Right.
there is always a kind of a complaint from all my family members, which is now removed for the present.
That is excellent, sir. Sir, but
But in any case, what I'm doing is in the morning session, I generally, because I have got my office inside my house itself.
Right.
So I have all the work, pending work, the books to be read. So I keep myself busy at least in the morning hours for that.
Right, sir. Sir, can you just tell us what was your daily routine when there was no lockdown? How was you to start your day, and how do you pass the entire day by this?
Daily routine was in the morning. Generally, I do not have any conference with the clients or the advocates because that I always keep for the purpose of those daily cases which I have to argue in the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because of the workload, normally I remain for the entire day busy in the courts from 11 to 5. And in the evening, when I come back, I have some small refreshment, and then I start my work around 7 o'clock in the evening, and that goes, of course, with in between a dinner time. Then there will be meetings, etc., and then absolutely I will be free by 10 when I start my actual reading and research work, which can go up to 1 o'clock or even 2 o'clock.
Oh, that's excellent. Sir, you appears to be quite fit with your body and health. So, what do you daily follow to exercise or to diet? What do you follow in your diet, and how do you exercise, sir, with this busy schedule?
Purvish bhai, essentially, I must be very frank enough with you that except Saturdays and Sundays, I do not have much time. I mean, though of course it is advised to me, but maybe I had yet not started with that, which now I am feeling during this lockdown period, when I'm doing my all regular exercises, that I will be continuing every day, which I was only doing on Saturdays and Sundays. And of course, during court hours, I made a point that I never used lifts. So everywhere I was just walking, running, or having my staircase to be used.
Oh, that's right. Sir, even your father, Suresh Bhai, was also quite fit till his last breath. I mean, what was the reason behind his fitness? What was the reason? How was?
Let me tell you one thing. For him, you also must have noticed, work and work only was his own sole mantra in life.
Right.
So I mean, that was his kind of boosting, or whatever you can say, vitamins in life, by virtue of which he was continuing. Yes, of course. One thing is certain, that he never missed his morning walks every day.
Right, sir. So how were you during your childhood days? What was your childhood days?
Well, uh, as far as my childhood is concerned, my father, when he started practice, it was a very kind of struggling things for him, and which I have noticed during my childhood period. Though, of course, he has never he has taken all the care to see that I never feel so. But nonetheless, I have noticed that his struggle, his hard work, and that is how I try to imbibe those things from him as far as possible. And therefore, and I was fortunate enough that I was there in a school, admitted in the school, were all my classmates and all my teachers. In fact, that class of ours, I was in AG High School in Ahmedabad. That class of ours was, I mean, it is. I must confess that it has given me all those virtues or to be imbibed in life, and I'm always thankful to them because we were all together studying, having all the fun together, and that has given me a kind of very great impact on my entire life. In fact, we were four of our class who who came into the first 10 in our Gujarat board during that period, including myself. So that is how I had that great impact of my childhood classmates.
Sir, we have all, I mean, when from my beginning as in the profession, I have already, I mean, we were of the impression that Suresh Bhai is supposed to be the doyen of our bar. And we have never heard that he was struggling. It was the first time from you, we actually heard because it's been a long story. So no one would be aware of that fact. Can you just tell us his struggling time stories, sir?
Could you please repeat? I just, there was
Sir,
a voice.
Sir, during our from me taking over as in the profession, we have we have seen Suresh Bhai as a doyen of the bar. We have never heard that he would have been struggled ever in his life. It is the first time that now we actually came to know that he was the one who has to struggle. Because since it's a long story, no one would be aware of that fact. So can you just share us that facts of his struggling time?
No, let me tell you, as far as my father, Suresh Bhai, was concerned, there was no legal background for him.
Right, sir.
My grandfather was just a bank employee. And my father had no actually inclination or any thinking process, as I could notice, to come to this field. In fact, because of the financial struggle in the with my grandfather, one time it was so thought that he must be sent to Singapore, where one of my uncles was there just for the purpose of doing some job there. But then my father's maternal uncle was of the view that no, he must be there in India, and then he took upon all his educational things to be, and therefore he was sent to Mumbai at the government law college for doing law.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how he continued. He started pursuing his career in law at government law college in Mumbai. And then when he came back to, basically he was from Rajkot. At that time it was the Saurashtra High Court prior to 1960.
Yeah.
So he started practice in Saurashtra High Court. Originally he joined the chambers of late Justice M.U. Shah, who was a judge of the Gujarat High Court. He was practicing lawyer there in Rajkot. And he was his cousin brother also. So he joined that practice. But, you know, during that period, as because of the fact that there was no legal background, he was just working hard with him, with Justice M.U. Shah. But he didn't have any of his, and it was very difficult for him to get the clients, particularly when in 1960 Gujarat High Court was established at Ahmedabad. Right. And he moved into Ahmedabad maybe roughly around 1962. Of course, right from 1960 he was working in Gujarat High Court, but he established permanently at Ahmedabad in 1962-63. Right. But there was a time which I could, of course, I did not hear anything from my father, but my mother had told me that there was a time when it reached to a moment where it was seriously thought of whether he should give up his practice or he should continue with the practice because of the fact that there was no work with him. But then gradually, by the grace of God, and because of his hard work, I must tell that everybody in Gujarat High Court recognizes his hard work. So because of his persistence, gradually it started developing, and then thereafter there was no looking back. Still, I recollect that at whatever point of time, wherever he had reached, he would never charge as far as his fees is concerned, anything which is biting his conscience.
Right.
That is how he has developed himself.
Right. So was becoming a lawyer always your passion?
Well, as I indicated, um, in my school days, originally, there was nothing in my mind of pursuing the law career. All my friends, they were all very brilliant. They were saying that you must have a science stream to be adopted and not the commerce stream. But um, uh, other line of persuasion was that, of course, don't look upon the law as your career, but still you can have your chartered accountant or such other professional things. You adopt your commerce stream. And so I, for that moment, adopted the commerce stream to be taken in as my educational in 10th standard. And then I in fact started with my chartered account during my college days. I started pursuing my chartered accountant course also. But then after completing my bachelor's of commerce, at that time I was made to understand, and I also thought that let me take upon the law as the field of my further progress in life. And that is how I took up on the law and joined the law course.
So has Suresh Bhai Sahab ever insisted upon you to get into this profession?
Never. He has never. He always allowed me a kind of free thing wherever I wanted to go. But I on my own also thought, and as I had seen working my father so hard, so I thought that this is I always, right from my childhood, considered him to be my idol. So I thereafter on my own thought that let me take upon this profession and do the good works which is being undertaken by my father and continue with the same. So that is how otherwise my father has never imposed anything upon me.
Right, sir. Sir, which was your law college? Where have you done your law from, sir? Which college?
Law college was the Sir Elisha Law College in Ahmedabad, where I studied. And I graduated from Sir Elisha Law College. I did my LLB there, and then did my LLM from Motilal Nehru Law College in property laws.
Right, sir.
And then that was the time in 1986, and thereafter in 1988, I joined the same college as a part-time lecturer, which I'm still continuing for all these years.
So what are the subjects that you are teaching, sir?
Naturally, it is the Code of Civil Procedure, the Transfer of Property Act, the drafting and conveyancing. These are the main subjects which I deal with as a part-time lecturer in the college.
Right, sir. Sir, how is the education system in present, since you being teacher now, is different than the education system which was prevailing at your time, and what difference you find in what future difference you want to bring in to the legal education system, sir?
That is a very good question, Purvesh Bhai. I must tell you, because I am there in the field of education right from 1988, and I have seen recently also the developments in the field of education. Two things I must share with you. Originally, during my time, the whole scenario was that the legal education, anybody joining law, was considered to be something as a kind of last avenue in life. If a person had no other thing to do, he was just sometimes it was so said in a lighter way that if he has nothing else to do in life, go and pursue law. And that was so easy at that time to be considered that there was no chance of you being you failing, at least in your examination. This is how it was so taken so lightly. The scenario, of course, has changed now because of this 5 years law courses, those national law schools having come into, and the students are now focused. They are focused right from the moment they enter into law college, that yes, they wish to go into the law schools for the purpose of future legal avocation in life. Maybe in their corporate sectors, maybe in the litigation, non-litigation section, but they are focused. They have to have no other avenue in life, only in the law field. So that is the major difference that I have noticed. One, but one thing is certain, as far as the present legal syllabus that I am finding from the law schools. Of course, there are varieties of subjects which we had never even studied during the law. But one thing that I'm marking is that, of course, it is good that you have all those varieties of subject being taught during this 5 years law course. But do not, I'm repeating, do not forget those basic laws which are fundamental, which I am noticing that the students, because of the fact that they have to deal with various other laws, tend to give a very less importance to those basic laws. As for example, the Transfer of Property Act, the Contract Act, the Specific Relief Act, they are the fundamentals, if I may say so, for every litigation, which the students think that they are just the kind of non-important laws, which are in fact not so.
Very true.
So this is what I feel, that all the law schools also must have this basic imbibing the attitude into the students, that yes, go on to those all new laws, but do not forget the importance of these laws, because they are very fundamental in nature.
True, sir. Sir, in fact, I may tell you, I am also teaching here in Symbiosis Law College. And to add to what you said, in fact, it is not the only student who are losing interest, but it is even a college doing the same thing. Sir, in fact, the syllabus of CPC, CRPC, evidence and constitution, which actually requires a year-long study, but now it has been curtailed in one semester. The entire subject has been put in one single semester. So that's where even I am also struggling with my college, fighting with my college not to do that. In order to add other subjects, you please do not curtail time period for this subject.
Yes.
Because that will be where...
Because what I have noticed is, and what I have noticed during the profession, you also must be noticing that unless you are well versed and thorough with these basic fundamental laws,
correct,
it would be difficult for you to be thorough with other laws.
Very true.
And vice versa. If you are having your expertise in the other laws, but you are not thorough with these laws, you might have been facing difficulties.
Right. So when have you started attending courts? During your studies, or it was after you completed your graduation?
Well, it was only during my last year of college, law college, namely third year, that I started attending the court. Not prior thereto.
Right, sir.
And my father also was telling me that it is not advisable to you concentrate, because once you have taken law seriously for the purpose of your future profession, you concentrate just not law studies just for the sake of studies, but have those basic concepts to be clarified, and that would require you to be there, not coming to the courts, but conceptual clarity would only come when you have good study at your home.
Sir, we have actually seen that we even advocates like advocates of my cadre, or even seniors, but from me, we are all usually scared of matters of second appeal. Usually scared of, because there actually involves a question of law which is to be discussed before the courts. So how do we actually derive question of law from the matter? What is the, I mean, any guru mantra that you have for deriving the substantial question of law from the litigation? Because
well, this is
you masterized
many advocates of record that come to me. They come to me with second appeals having been drafted by them, but as far as the questions of law is concerned, they say that that is not our cup of tea. Right. You just help us in that way.
So what I'm saying, you masterized that art. So if you can give us some...
No, there is no question of being master of anything. Only thing is, no. What happens is this. This is just like kind of in our school days, we used to have those précis writings. So it is like that. First of all, you gather all the facts. It is not that it is a second appeal. Therefore, you just look upon the law. Unless you have marshaled all the facts properly, there is no question of applicability of law.
True.
So first of all, have all the facts fully marshaled. Then try to see as to which are the laws or the provisions of law which can be applied there to. And then concentrate only on those laws which apply to those facts. Do not have more than this is just kind of general guideline, not more than 7 to 8 questions frame, which must contain each and everything in the second appeal. Many times I've seen that in the questions of law which are being framed are running into 20-25 questions of law, just like grounds of second appeal. That is useless.
Right.
Because ultimately, whenever a second appeal is admitted, it is admitted on the questions of law, not only framed by the advocate, but they have to be framed by the court itself.
True.
So court must be guided to frame those questions, and court would be naturally framing the questions not more than 4 or 5 questions.
Very true.
So framing of the questions, again, the manner is not that whether in the facts and circumstances the lower court has erred in holding this. That is not a question of law to be framed. The question of law, the wordings of the question of law must be whether the suit was time barred, whether the lower court had jurisdiction to enter in the suit. Questions must be formulated which would pinpoint the law involved thereunder.
Right.
Of course, during the recent times, the courts have also, and the Supreme Court has relaxed the questions of law, the parameters of question of law, including the construction of documents, including the non-consideration of relevant evidence. Of course, supposing the relevant evidence is not considered, you frame a question as to whether the court has erred in not framing considering the appropriate evidence on record.
Right. Right, sir. So, how have you started your practice? And what was your earlier practice?
As I've told you, I immediately upon my completion of studies joined with my father. And that is how I began along with my father. One thing is you also must be knowing or must have heard. My father was very meticulous, not only hardworking. Everything was to be done by him on his own, and was very, as far as his nature was concerned, he was very considered to be very angry in nature, as far as clients are concerned.
Very true.
So this is just a kind of lighter things which has, of course, helped me in my profession from a different viewpoint. This like this. As he was very having a very kind of angry nature as far as the clients are concerned, clients were very afraid of talking to him. Of course, they were knowing that whenever he's angry, it is for their own good. And ultimately they were getting the results, but they could not easily interact with my father. So when they knew that now that I joined with him, they gradually started interacting with me as far as the case are concerned. So that helped me in kind of client interaction, and that is how that has indirectly helped me.
Right, sir. So we have usually seen that we actually adopt from our father the entire habits. Your father, Suresh Bhai Sahab, having a short temper, we all know, and you are so calm. How come it be? I mean, you being very calm, I have seen you always very calm, as contrary
maybe
to
that answer I am also unable to give. The answer to that I am also unable to give because I also do not know the answer.
Right, sir. Sir, what difference you find in the struggle in the present generation advocates, the new coming up advocates, and the struggle that you people had during your time when you started your
practice? What happens is this: during the earlier times, the number of cases, the number of litigation was much lower as compared to the present. Two things: either the people have become more vigilant as far as their rights are concerned, or many a times what I've seen is that the people have now seen that the courts can be easily approached, whether um, they can get, they have a really genuine case or not. But many a times for X, Y, and Z reasons, they just kind of very casually approach the court. So the number of litigation is increased, number of cases have increased. If any lawyer, though of course the number of lawyers has also increased, but what I have found is that irrespective of increase in number of lawyers, if any lawyer is found to be hardworking, maybe that he may have to struggle. Even if a hardworking lawyer having no background will have to struggle at least for 5 years, mind well. But still, once he is found to be hardworking, litigants have now become very wise. They know, they do their spade work before coming to the court. They know, and they always thereafter appreciate that yes, this is a hardworking lawyer, this is a punctual lawyer, this is a lawyer which gives me good and right advice. If you have these three qualities, maybe that you will be struggling in the initial years, but certainly I must tell all those junior friends that they will certainly not struggle if they have these three qualities: hard work, punctuality, and clear, good, correct advice to the clients.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We'll take this. Sir, what are different milestones of your legal career?
Well, I don't know about the milestones, but over a period of time, what I have noticed is that it is again the same thing. It is the hard work which is paid off over a period of time. Gradually, I have developed, particularly in the field of civil laws, and maybe that I am learning, and that learning process has helped me to have some name of mine in the field of Gujarat High Court advocates. And of course, thereafter in 2016, I was designated as a senior advocate by the Gujarat High Court, and that is of course that was also a milestone in my career, and that has continued. But still, I consider throughout my entire legal career to be always a student. There is no question of any having reached to a milestone. Milestones are yet to come. I'll have to go on working hard.
Very true, sir. Thank you. Sir, can you just tell us what any specific matters that has transformed your career? I mean, attitude towards law or any other way it has been transformed?
Puraj bhai, of course, there were various matters, but one matter I will never forget in my life, and that was a matter. It was a reference made to a division bench in respect of the urban land ceiling, and the question that was posed before the division bench was whether the I'm sorry, it was the Bombay Rent Act. I stand corrected. It was the Bombay Rent Act, and the question which was posed was as regards the amendment made in the Bombay Rent Act. What was the nature of amendment? What is the effect of amendment? Whether it was prospective or retrospective.
Right.
Now, in our office, where I was working along with my father, there were a lot of Bombay Rent Act matters. So this question, there were the viewpoint from landlords was different. The viewpoint from tenants was different. The question was we will have to address from whose viewpoint, because there were various matters which are referred. Some of the matters were of landlord, some of the matters were of tenant. My father told me that all right, let us do one thing. I will argue on behalf of the tenant, and you argue on behalf of the landlord.
Oh my God.
And that was the first and the last occasion when we both of us opposed each other before a division bench where the reference was made. And that gave me a very kind of great deal of confidence into me. That yes, I can argue, and I can argue before a division bench, in a matter which was referred to on a pure question of law, and more particularly against my own father.
Right, sir.
And that gave me a very great boost
Wow.
and confidence.
Right.
So that I will never forget.
ટ્રુ સર. સર ક્યારેય સાહેબનું નોટ્સ ચોરી કરીને જોવાની કે એવું કઈ ઈચ્છા થઈ હતી કે સાહેબ શું પ્રિપેર કરે છે?
સાહેબની નોટ્સ એવી હતી કે એના હેન્ડરાઇટિંગ એ પોતે પણ વાંચી નહોતા શકતા.
મને ખબર છે એ હેન્ડરાઇટિંગ તો મને યાદ છે.
એટલે એની નોટ્સ જે છે એ પોતે જ વાંચે. અને પણ અત્યારે પણ now that he is not there are various old cases coming up on board for final hearing of second appeals and first appeals which he has prepared. And my son, who has now also joined in the practice, he tells me to read those notes, and then he gets so much inspired by those notes that he has also started developing that practice of making those notes.
Excellent that his legacy passes on, sir. Definitely. Sir, whom you would like to attribute your success till now to, other than your father? Of course, Suresh Bhai is the one whom can never be forgotten. But any other person whom you would like to attribute your success to?
Well, during my junior days, there were various seniors that I would be really obliged, and I would be failing my duty if I do not thank them here at this moment. I must tell you, Purvesh Bhai, the very first day that I joined and I put my feet into the court premises after becoming an advocate, Mr. KJ Shetna, who is he was a senior advocate practicing in the criminal side and a good friend of my father. He just, if I may use the word snatched, he just snatched me from my father and told me that, son, you just come with me and look at how do I present my case. Of course, it was a criminal case, but how do I present the case which I know was a very bad case for me? And start looking at the manner in which I will have to address the court, take the court on my side from that bad case. That was the very first day of my practice. And he, just like a fatherly figure, carried me with him into a courtroom, and I just watched him. This was the kinds of seniors that I was fortunate enough to see working in the court premises. So Mr. Shetna, when I was also there as an assistant government pleader for about 1.5 years, I also worked under Mr. M.D. Pandya, who was a government pleader there at that point of time. And I was also be failing if I do not today recollect late Justice S.D. Shah. He was so kind of giving me confidence during his tenure when he was an advocate, as also as a judge. When I was not there, or that after my tenure of 1.5 years as a government pleader, I was not continued as a government pleader, assistant government pleader. It was he, when he was, though of course he was a sitting judge at that point of time, it was he who in fact personally met me and said that doesn't matter, Mehul, you continue with your own work, your private practice, even if you are not continued as an assistant government pleader, continue with your hard work and be patient, and you will one time always succeed. And that mantra that he has given me, I am always thankful to him.
Very true. Thank you, sir. Even KJ Shetna Sahib has actually given some impressions in my life as well. So we can never forget him as well. Sir, can you just tell me what do you expect from an advocate that brief you on a matter?
Well, advocates on record who normally brief me, normally what I expect is that at least before they come to me for the purpose of briefing, they must be at least thorough with the facts. When they prepare short notes or synopses, as far as the facts are concerned, because it may happen that I may not get that much time to go through each and every fact, to scan through everything. So they must be thorough with the facts, so that at least those important facts which are important for the purpose of conducting the matter would be at least put to my notice. Preparation of notes, and whatever may be their research that they may have done. Of course, I will be always adding to that research from my own side, but at least thorough with the facts and making of the notes would be essential thing that I would be always expecting from my advocates on record.
Right, sir. Sir, when you are being briefed, what do you actually look into the matter to place it before the court?
As I've indicated, for me also, even if my advocate record has given me all the outlines on facts, it is my practice that unless I myself do not go through the facts once again, I will not proceed and will not prepare the case or prepare my own notes. So I will once again look into all the facts from my own angle. Of course, I maintain my own research diaries. So then I will try to apply the provisions of law or the judgments which I may have in my mind. And some cases do come up which require further research. So before, if that is the case, I will also have those research done, and then only I will try to see that I present my case before the court. Maybe it may take some more time, but I will never like to present myself before any court unless I am myself satisfied that yes, no point is left out.
Right, sir. Sir, you must have came to instances where you find that, or question is, have you ever came to such instances or such situation would have arisen for you where you actually find that if a second appeal is coming to you, there is no question of law involved, and then how do you deal with such situation? I mean, is there instances where there cannot be any substantial question of law involved in a second appeal?
Yes, there can be a case where you find that there is no question at all involved,
right,
in the matter.
Right.
So, but many a times, I always definitely tell my advocate record, or if the clients are also accompanying them, I always tell that this is a case where I find that there is no question of law involved, or I find that there is no merit in the matter. So that is a kind of clear advice which I always give to the advocate on record or the clients, as the case may be. And then, of course, it is their call. But I then make them very, very, very clearly make them understand that it is because of that call that we are taking a chance, or we are making an effort. But keeping that thing in mind, that the case has no much merits in it, we are proceeding with the matter. This I am always making it very clear to my advocate record or to the client if he accompanies the case.
Right, sir. Sir, how do you actually research? Whether you follow a research through online method, textbook, or references? What is the method that you follow, sir, for researching?
Purvesh bhai, the method which I have developed over a period of time, from my time, I'm more at ease, if I may say, with the digest, with the commentaries, from which I always try to do my research work. So digest and commentaries are my first preferences. And then from that, once I gather basic notions of law and the relevant judgments, then I go online, and from those judgments, after reading those judgments, I try to find out the other judgments too, and that is how I try to make research.
That's it. Sir, any message that you would like to give legal fraternity during this lockdown period to remain positive?
Well, people, of course, have found out various ways and means to remain positive during these days. But for the legal fraternity, if I may say so, just one thing. I know that during this lockdown period, there are various, very less means. You might be there in your homes, away from your offices, but at least you have access to those online media for the purpose of legal reading and researches. What I'm saying is just continue with your thinking process on those either pending cases or the cases that you have already covered up, or some provisions of law or some position of law which you notice that yes, this requires some research. Just occupy yourself with those things, maybe online, or if you have access to the books, with the books. What would happen this by virtue of this process is that once the lockdown period is over, you would come out with more confidence, with more confidence in yourselves, so that would be helpful to you in your future handling of cases, positive thinking as regards how to handle those cases, and that would be, as far as the legal fraternity is concerned, would be very important for you.
So what changes you expect after this lockdown period gets over in the legal fraternity field, in the legal practice?
One change that I would really expect from is that once the lawyers have introspected themselves, and this is my if you tell it is kind of my advice also, if that is to be seen so. Just remember one thing: there is no shortcut to the success. And therefore, what I would expect is that every lawyer would start giving right advice to the clients after this lockdown. Maybe that may have a kind of effect on their practice in a short kind of a temporary effect. But over a period of time, it would help. It would help not only you, giving the right advice. Whenever you find that yes, this is you should not come to the court, you straightway tell that this is not worth a matter to come to the court. It would help you in a long run. It would help the legal fraternity, it would help the institution as such, so that there would not be unnecessarily flood of the cases which were in fact not required to be filed in the court of law. This I would really expect from the introspect that every lawyer would be making during this lockdown period.
Sir, only last and personal question. We just want to know about your car.
About my
car?
Well, 1955 Fiat model. You must have noticed, and recently, just about 5-6 months ago, I have made it. I have entirely kind of redecorated them.
So, sir,
you must have seen that movie Dhamal, where my beta is said by Asrani. It is just like my beta for our entire family of us.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhuvnesh bhai. Thanks, Thank you.
Once